The banning of combustion cars by 2030 or 2035 pleases nobody except the net zero zombies and the Chinese, who are laughing all the way to the bank. Most drivers do not want to replace their reliable and convenient petrol or diesel car with an EV that is more expensive, depreciates vertically, has limited range and is a complete pain to charge. The automakers don't want to be rushed into an electric transition, forced to abandon all their combustion technology, which, after decades of refinement, has resulted in almost miraculously clean and efficient engines. And as the boss of Mercedes correctly points out, the only beneficiary of this mad push for EVs is the People's Republic of China. Great result. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney YouTuber. If you wish to keep up with all the net zero and EV insanity, please click that subscribe button down below and enable all notifications so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you'd like to support this channel, head over to my store where you can purchase some cool anti-EV merch, or alternatively you can chip in a small donation at Buy Me a Coffee. Links to both are in the description, or you can scan the QR codes on screen. I've always said that net zero trumps literally everything, including common sense, because saving the planet means you don't have to give a rational explanation for anything. We're saving the planet, duh. So the idiotic bureaucrats in Europe and the UK don't care about the hundreds of thousands of jobs in the European automotive sector that will be lost, or the impact on the economy of the region that would result from its collapse. No, they only care about net zero by 2050. The auto industry, thinking the writing was on the wall for their traditional combustion models, went along with this madness for a while, pivoting their manufacturing towards electric drivetrains, with some jumping headfirst onto the bandwagon, promising that they'd be EV only by 2025 or some other unachievable target. But what they didn't bargain for was the completely understandable reluctance of car buyers to blindly accept Europe's demands that they should buy EVs. They stubbornly refused. Why should we buy essentially disposable cars that are more expensive, less convenient and less practical? So instead they continued to buy petrol cars, including a noticeable shift to the pre-owned market, rather than the shiny new battery cars, leaving the automakers with massive inventory that they couldn't shift. And then China moved in, with a stranglehold on the supply chain of the rare earth metals and other minerals required to make the batteries for EVs. They were able to manufacture cheap and nasty EVs that undercut the local models, and Europe was flooded with them. So people thought, if I'm going to be forced to buy an EV, then I might as well buy a cheap one from China, given that they are effectively a disposable product like an iPhone, which meant even fewer drivers were choosing European EVs. But the demand for petrol and diesel cars had never really gone away, so inevitably the backtracking started. One by one, manufacturers pulled back on their irresponsible EV-only deadlines, gradually conceding that they would continue to make combustion cars after all. But despite all of this, the net zero zombies in Europe haven't listened. They're still set on their arbitrary deadline of 2035, beyond which not one single combustion car can ever be sold again. And the auto industry is starting to rebel against this policy, with the boss of Mercedes warning it could be the end of the European auto industry. European car market faces collapse, Mercedes boss warns. He claims the industry faces a perfect storm of challenges, including a looming ban on petrol and diesel vehicles. The head of Mercedes-Benz has delivered an apocalyptic message on the future of the European car industry, caught up in Chinese competition, Trump's trade war tariffs, weak demand for luxury vehicles, and regulatory diktats that car makers stop making petrol and diesel vehicles by 2035. Ola Kalinius, chief executive, said the outlook for car makers was worse than a perfect storm. Our industry is experiencing heavy rain, hail, storms and snow at the same time, Kalinius, 56, told the German newspaper Handelsblatt. Car manufacturing is a tough business, more so than ever. Of the European Commission's insistence that all car makers produce zero-emission vehicles within a decade, Kalinius said, "We need a reality check, otherwise we are heading at full speed against a wall." He warned that Europe's car market could collapse if Brussels went ahead with the planned timelines of its petrol and diesel ban. His views carry particular weight as he is also president of the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, the Europe-wide equivalent of the British lobby group, the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders. There have been growing European industry demands for Brussels to look again at its proposed ban, and Kalinius said that such a ban would simply hasten consumers into buying petrol and diesel cars before any deadline. That doesn't do the climate any good, he said. Kalinius, a Swede who took over in 2019 as chief executive from his charismatic predecessor Dieter Zetscher, who latterly admitted that the company had used cheat devices to fool regulators over the carbon emissions of Mercedes cars, has previously been a standard bearer for the company's investment in low and zero-emission vehicles. He said, however, in the Handelsblatt interview, "Of course, we have to decarbonise, but we must not lose sight of our economy." He said legislators had to use tax incentives and lower power prices at charging stations to encourage the switch to electric cars. He said that Mercedes and the European car industry were under a multi-pronged attack. "The environment in which we operate is extremely complex at the moment," he said, citing not least the impact of US trade tariffs, which are slapping a 15% surcharge on European Union exports across the Atlantic. He said the increasingly intense competition from Chinese exports into Europe was Darwinian. Of the luxury market in which Mercedes plays, he said, "Consumer sentiment in the high-end segments important to us has been very subdued for several years, to put it mildly." Well, despite all that, don't expect the Brussels mandarins to change their policy anytime soon, stuffed as they are with vested interests. They would rather see the industry destroyed than pull back on the ridiculous net zero targets. Let's just hope that Mercedes and the other European automakers can apply so much pressure that they will eventually have no choice. If you'd like to support this channel and display your anti-EV credentials to your Tesla-owning neighbours at the same time, why not buy some awesome MGUY merchandise, like this mug, this baseball cap, or this t-shirt? Each high-quality item sports the MGUY No EVs sign, and they're all made to order, perfect for irritating the hell out of your local EV zealots. Visit store.mguy.tv or click the link in the description to check out the full range of products. And of course, you can always just buy me a coffee. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Thanks very much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any tips or stories, go there. If you'd like to watch another video, go there. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, go there. And please subscribe to the channel.